listening to Peak One Sports.
All right. What is up, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Page. I am Dan Boyer, aka Neon Super Shrimp, joined as always by Ashton Nix. What's going on, Ashton? How's your week been, man?
Man,
Vacation.
You got me off on this music. This is different music.
Oh, is that it? My bad.
Yeah, you confused me.
Trying to bring in those chill vibes, you know?
Yeah, no, I like the music. I was just expecting others. Vacation was great. Went to Galveston and Freeport for almost a week. Then back to reality. I came all the way back up to Fort Worth, and the last 2 days I've been back in San Antonio, and just got back from San Antonio this afternoon. So a lot of driving, a lot of traveling the last few days, but I'm good.
Did you come back and get your dog and then go to San Antonio?
No. San Antonio was a work thing. It was just me. I mean, I did.
Oh, okay.
We got our dog, took it home. I stayed the night at home the other night, and then went to San Antonio for an overnight trip. So,
gotcha. Yeah, I got to borrow Ashton's dog while he was on vacation. He's a good boy. I like hanging out. I was calling him Borkley the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a good boy. And just on that note, we'll go ahead and shout out these sponsors and partnerships here. The Dapper Dog Academy, located right here in Cleburne, Texas. And owner, operator, trainer Corey Bennett has nearly 10 years experience helping your canine companions become the best version of themselves. With personalized training programs tailored to fit your pup's unique personality and needs, Corey and the Dapper Dog Academy are committed to helping your best friend reach their full potential. Contact Corey and the Dapper Dog Academy on Facebook and schedule your consultation today. Man, you got a really good dog on your hands, though, man. Like we were singing his praises the whole time. He played with our pups. We sent you like a video. We were like playing in the backyard and stuff. And they were all getting along just great. So he's a real good dog. You got a good one there. So
yeah, just a little bit wild, but he's still really
young. You know, yeah. He's a puppy. He's just a baby. All right, Ashton, tell me how you make your bets.
I make my bets without my gut. I don't bet with my gut. Neither should you. You should check out Betalytics and get help making your picks using their AI algorithms. We're all talking about AI nowadays, and that's what Betalytics uses to make a lot of their picks. And you can use promo code PEAK1 and get 25% off when you sign up today. Go to Betalytics.com to start betting smarter.
And speaking of promo code PEAK1, you can also use it on your order for Debbie to enjoy 10% off of your order today. Looking for a superior energy drink to replace those inferior caffeinated beverages? Debbie contains zero maltodextrins, zero fillers, zero artificial flavors, colors, or dyes, and zero proprietary blends. It's the coffee fruit extract that is the star of this beverage. So, like I said, Peak One for 10% off. I'm drinking my usual Debbie tonight. I'm always looking for a pick me up.
Again, I have water. It's been, it's in the W cup. Water. It hadn't been as exhausting last few days, but when I'm driving and traveling and working, I just don't drink enough water, so I have to rehydrate right now.
I mean, I feel like I never drink enough water. I'm always trying to.
I try when I can work. When I can work in a distance in an office, whether it's home or wherever, I make it a point to have a water on my desk, and I'm just drinking it all day long. So it's when I'm out doing other stuff, inconsistent places, out running around, I'm just not drinking enough water. And that's probably when I should be drinking more, right?
Probably, yeah, right. Man, I remember when I was in the military, they were always really on us about making sure we were drinking enough water and stuff, especially if we're like training in the summer and the heat and everything. Just it gets crazy, and it's always kind of like your responsibility to make sure you're hydrated and whatever. I mean, They're always prepared for people to fall out, but I mean, you obviously don't want that to happen to anybody. So, all right, I feel like we've got quite the variety of topics for this week. We're definitely going to talk Rangers and some Olympics that have been going on. little bit of news here as far as the Cowboys are concerned. We'll get into that too. And then I got a couple of topics. I guess really it's just one topic I wanted to talk about, kind of about banning or putting limits on like heckling, and really the issue is songs and chants in soccer. But we'll kick this off first with the Rangers. I think I want to start with the heavier news first. Rangers just dropped a 10th inning loss to the Milwaukee Brewers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So got swept by the Brewers after a 4-game win streak they put down, and actually the Rangers went ahead and swept Kansas City over the weekend.
Yeah.
The big news coming off the weekend: Scherzer finally made his long-awaited return to the mound on Sunday. 5 innings pitched, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts. Got the W in that. I believe it was a shutout, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't get. I think. Yeah, they the team made a shutout. They didn't give up any runs at all during that game. I think it was back-to-back shutouts on Saturday and Sunday, sweeping the Royals.
Yeah, so Scherzer looked pretty good. I mean, he only put in 5 innings, so not exactly a quality start. But for what it was and everything, I mean, not a bad outing for his return. And I don't see there's any reason for you to make him pitch 9 innings.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of him coming in and basically putting down like these 5 innings and having a good outing, get his confidence up a little bit, let him come out and get his next start under his belt as well. But I mean, coming off that return and everything, only giving up the 1 hit, no runs, so your ERA is still a 0. Not a bad way for your return to start. I mean, I'm pretty happy about it. You got any thoughts?
You got to be careful with coming back with arm strains, shoulder strains, any kind of muscles.
Yeah,
that have to do with pitching, which I mean, there's a ton, like all the way down into your leg, into your foot. I mean, if you want to get specific, but for sure, forearm issues, wrist issues, and Scherzer's not young. I mean, I think the fact that he came back when he did, I mean, he was supposed to come back earlier, had a setback, and we were all like, here we go, but able to come back and pitch really, really well. Can it last? I don't know, but I'm stoked that he got 5 innings in and was able to qualify for the win. That's all you can ask right now. I mean, I know pitching hasn't really been a huge issue for the Rangers. It's mostly been their hitting, spurts of their pitching struggling, but I think this is some much needed help, because I mean, they have really, really good pitchers, but I mean, Dunning's one where he went back to the bullpen after Scherzer was added back to the roster, and I think everyone was kind of happy with that. I mean, Dunning's a good pitcher. He's kind of hit miss though. He can kind of get blown up. Same with I think Andrew Heaney's kind of that. You want all your starting pitchers to be in there and healthy, so those guys can be rock stars in the bullpen, your long relievers when you need them. I mean, having Dunning and Heaney in your starting rotation, it's just too much. Not leaving yourself enough room for error there. This is a good thing. I mean, he was able to give outstanding innings. Maybe he could have gotten more. I don't know. I'm sure they're pacing him obviously to be able to pitch longer and longer innings and give them a situation where you don't want him to get hurt. 3 starts back in and seem more like a DeGrom type pitcher going into the rest of the year, because I mean, I know they're in 3rd place right now. They're not doing well, but you still look at it as the playoffs are for sure in the cards right now. You don't want to think too far ahead, but you have to save your guys in the event that you do make the playoffs, because as we know from last year, just get into the tournament. Anything can happen from there.
Yeah. pretty much like you just said, Rangers in third place now, 7.5 back of the Mariners, I think, 3 behind Houston. So I mean, it's getting, our situation's getting worse right now, and I don't want to say that's what I've expected before it's going to get better, before we get more of these injury returns and stuff, but we've definitely got, I think the Rangers need to I don't know, work a little harder to figure out how to stop some of the bleeding. We're obviously capable of like beating teams. We just swept Kansas City, and then to turn around and drop 3 in a row to the Brewers. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the Brewers are playing good baseball so far this year and everything, but like you'd like to think that at least in every series you'd manage to get 1 out of 3 wins and just help yourself stay afloat a little bit better in that sense. Dropping full series to because I'm trying to think who it was before that they had also done it to, with the Brewers. Almost dropped it to the Mets. The Mariners, we were swept by.
And right after you win 2 of 3 in LA, like you're kind of excited about beating the Dodgers twice, and then all the momentum goes away when you lose it. You'd like to win one of those games and maybe split that, because going into those 2 series, when you're saying you have to go visit the Dodgers and then go to Seattle, if you'd have told me we'd in that up 500, I'd been ecstatic. So you're going into, and you just have to win one of those games in Seattle, but you get swept. And it's like, anytime they get a little bit of momentum, it's happened quite a few times where they'll win 2, 3, 4 games and then they get swept. And it's like you're right, they need to stop the bleeding. When they get some momentum, when they're getting closer to 500, it's like just win one of the series and then just go back and forth. Win a series, lose a series, that's fine, but you're just canceling out all your wins when you get swept. You're getting swept. It seems like every 2 or 3 series they're getting swept.
Yeah, it's a 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of feeling when you're able to like put a few wins together and then you get swept or you drop 4 or 5 in a row. And I think we've both kind of been saying this, like getting like Scherzer back, getting DeGrom back in August, like that's great and everything, but I don't feel like our biggest issue for the Rangers is pitching at the moment. We need to figure out a way to get our bats going more consistently. We're just, because honestly too, it feels like we are giving up a lot of hits in a number of games, but we've also had a number of games where we've managed to shut out our opponents and put up 5 runs plus of our own. But it feels like we would at least be fighting for more wins if we could get some more consistency out of our plate appearances. Having our team still being led by Josh Smith, who's batting .294. So I mean, everybody else on the team lower. I mean,
imagine if Josh Smith wasn't going off right now. I mean,
right, yeah. And I mean, and really, that's what I'm saying. But of all the players on, I mean, we've got Garcia and Seager and these guys that you would like to think would be batting better than Josh Smith. And you'd like to think we're even batting 300 kind of minimum.
Yeah, Langford,
everybody being 294
had been struggling, but he's starting to put it together a little bit. You like to think Josh Young coming back pretty soon will help the lineup a little bit. Who knows? I mean, I think we're all in agreement that they overplayed their cards last year in winning the World Series. It's not like they were the best team at all in any playoff series. Even going to Tampa, I'm not sure that they were the best team. Obviously, record-wise, they weren't. But they got hot and made a run, and I think obviously injuries play a part. I'm not saying they're a World Series contender every year because they won the World Series one year, but I mean, I'd like to think they're above 500. That's kind of what they should be, and give them a stretch in a month where they're pretty much healthy, and maybe they put some wins together.
That's really what I'd like to think at this point. If we could make just a nice string of wins put together before the All-Star break, give us that time off, and then be able to come back kind of ready to go. Few injury updates here. Jose Corniel, season-ending surgery on his UCL and his right elbow, so that's one relief guy we got going. Cody Bradford to throw bullpen special session on Friday, and then to the Arizona Complex League. Josh Young still on 60-day, but he said he expects to swing the bat in a few days. And then Cole Winn was actually moved from 60-day to 15-day for right shoulder discomfort. So dodged a little bit of a bullet there, I guess.
Yeah.
Really the big news here, Josh Young feeling good, looking pretty good, getting ready to, get some BP in the next few days. Hopefully he's not like a full 60 days out or anything. I want to say he's also been on 60-day for at least a month now. So he's probably reaching the end of that designation, but that one would be a big addition to our batting lineup. My buddy was showing me, man, I wish I could remember the numbers now, but my buddy was showing me like the stats for the Rangers with Josh Young versus without, and we are crazy better when Josh Young is in the lineup. So not to necessarily perpetuate what not even like, it's not even necessarily like a real stat or anything, but like,
I mean,
I'd like to think that bringing a guy like him in would do great things.
It changes the game plan for the other team. I mean, not that, oh, hey man, what's up? What's up, Josh? Not that, or was I going with that? Not that Josh Smith isn't someone, or Wyatt Langford isn't, someone you're not going to necessarily have to think too much about. I know they're both doing really well right now, but I think Josh Young, even as young as he is, has kind of proven himself in the league where he's something, the choice of those three guys I just mentioned, you're going to want Josh Young in the lineup. And that's someone you can't just pitch around or worry, that's somebody that's going to be deep, probably pretty deep in your lineup when he comes back. I can't remember exactly where he was batting every day. I think it was more like 4, 5, 6 in that range. But I being at the back of your lineup, you're not going to be able just to look past him, especially when Evan Carter's fully healthy. I mean, Langford looks like he's doing good.
Well,
I know Garcia's been struggling, but I mean, he didn't just forget how to hit the ball. So I think when everybody's healthy, you're gonna see some of these guys where there's not gonna be like, usually the 7, 8, 9 guys are the guys who are like, okay, we got it. Let's just work through these guys. When you have to think about it and then you have it roll over, and now you got Simeon, Seager. I think Langford's been batting third most of the time anyways. That's why I think you're just throwing those guys in there. I mean, if you tell me you're going to replace one position and it increases, it gets better. I mean, more often than not, you're going to win more games. And I think Josh Young significantly increases in talent, putting him at third base. Now, it's been hard to tell because he's been dealing with a lot of injuries, but it gives you those numbers where you have plenty of him playing and plenty games where he hasn't played where you can put together. Yeah, it's not necessarily a causality thing. You're looking at a stat, it's a real stat, but it's like, why is it like that? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's very productive or he's, now the pitchers have to worry more about him than whoever else. But I think it's going to significantly improve and at least improve morale more than anything when he comes back.
No, I definitely agree with that. The morale boost that I would expect to kind of see from everybody, especially if he can manage to come in and start having an effect. If he can come in and start getting some hits, start scoring some runs, that kind of motivation is electric a little bit. It's contagious.
Yeah.
And hopefully it would just kind of like move on down the line for everybody in there. But he would be an absolute I'm hoping he'll be an absolute monster once we actually get him back into the lineup. I want to say he was batting like 330 something just before his injury and everything. Yeah. So Uh, a lot of I almost want to taper my expectations because I don't necessarily want to expect the world from him, but I fully expect that his reinsertion into our lineup will help the Rangers immensely, especially pushing through this second half. We are Rangers are 37-43. That's 80 games through the season now, so pretty much that halfway point right here. So getting him back in there just to talk about it a little bit too, though, man. How about Wyatt Langford? That kid has been playing some great baseball the last few weeks. Finally got his first home run, and then I want to say like
First
2
over
nights
the
later he
fence
got a
home run.
home run. Yeah,
First over the fence. Yeah, he had the inside the bark. Yeah, I think it was a few weeks ago. Even on the show, we were talking about. They were talking about sending him back down to AAA to reset, get his confidence back, and then like right around that time he started hitting and playing really well. Not only hitting, he's been making really good decisions base running wise too. I think him in the lineup, even when you go back to Josh Young, I think just having those talented guys in the lineup just increases your chances for success. And like when Corey Seager's struggling, when Garcia's struggling, obviously it's going to hurt the lineup, but you need more of those guys so they can pick up the slack because, everyone's not going to be on at the same time. At the same point, not everybody's going to be off at the same time. So that's why you need enough of those talented guys to pick up the slack when they're not off, where if Garcia's struggling, but the team's winning, you have enough guys where they're winning and being successful. Bochy can, maybe take him out of the lineup, but Bochy has an endless amount of strategies he can work to get Garcia back hitting, as opposed to, well, we have to leave you in, or we have to take you out, or his hand being forced because the team isn't doing well like they aren't now. I mean, they're staying in it. I mean, we talked about they're taking 3 steps back and 2 steps forward, but at the same point, they are getting getting these little win streaks and kind of staying in the area where they're not falling too far behind. They're kind of staying within striking distance. So I think that helps Bochy out a lot, where he doesn't have to do anything desperate. We just need to get the guys healthy and maybe just improve by a couple of games a week, and then slowly work your way back in there. Because I mean, I'm convinced, outside of a couple of major season ending type injuries, that the Rangers have no intention of being sellers at the trade deadline. We still have about a month, so who knows what will change before then. But are they going to be aggressive buyers? I'm not sure, but I'm sure they're going to go somewhere to retool, because they just won a World Series, and I know they said they're bringing it back. They for the most part have. I know there were some financial issues because of TV deals and all that, but I think they see the fact that you deal with that many injuries, which every team does deal with injuries, but you deal with this amount of injuries and you're still right there. If they have, I don't know what their record would be if they didn't deal with as many injuries, but you got to think like 3 or 4 game swing, you're right back there. I mean, you're a few games out of it, you're right around 500, and getting healthy and then maybe getting that extra bat, maybe another arm. I'm not sure what their strategy is right now. I think you could go either way, and you make a run for the division.
Yeah, but even just kind of building off like what you're saying, I don't necessarily think there's a whole lot out there that the Rangers necessarily need to acquire that we're not necessarily going to get back from injuries around the same time, maybe a little further out with like DeGrom's return, obviously being a few weeks after the trade deadline. I was reading some stuff today that was talking about the possibility of the Rangers trading Scherzer. To be honest, I don't know if I necessarily see that as a possibility, just because, building on what you were saying, the Rangers aren't necessarily out of this yet. There's still plenty of baseball to be played. There's plenty of time, and we have guys returning that can definitely put us right back into that position. I can concede that one thing I thought the article was kind of, head on about. Scherzer might be our most valuable card to play if we were trying to do anything with trades before anything comes around. But kind of like what I'm saying here, and what it felt like you were saying too, like our team is doing fairly well, and we've got players that are due to return to fill in the gaps that we have. I don't necessarily know that the Rangers are going to be willing to sell a whole lot. Now, we may be on the buying side a little bit. We might, try and acquire somebody that might help round out our lineup, or, another bat or something. I don't necessarily think that the Rangers are hurting too much for a pitcher or anything like that. So I can't say that I think, they're going to, try to sell out for another ace or anything like that, especially with Scherzer having come back and DeGrom on the way. So I don't know. I agree with you, especially with, the Rangers have pretty much said and done what they said, and that we were going to try and run this back and just do it again. Injuries have been our plague this year, and that's been our biggest issue. But, just, I don't know, kind of going through all that, it feels like I don't know, for lack of a better term, as poorly as the Rangers are doing, I'm not necessarily that worried about them, knowing kind of what we have coming up and the return of, Josh Young and DeGrom and that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the trade deadline just a few weeks away. And, obviously, like that last day of the trade deadline always has some crazy things happen. So we'll buckle up for that. But I don't know if I anticipate the Rangers making too many moves. Maybe they try to make like one acquisition to help us round out our bats or our lineup and whatever. But
you're not going to get a Scherzer type. Outside of moving Scherzer, which I don't know. When you say their most valuable piece, most valuable piece that they're willing to trade, I could see. You could trade. I know he's hurt, but Evan Carter, Josh Young, I think you could get more back from them because they're so young.
Yeah, and Scherzer's,
an injury-prone 37-year-old pitcher, 38, I think now, but
but for any team like ready to make
a one-year deal,
yeah.
And that's what the Rangers would be. Because they're not going to trade Josh Young. They're for sure in the championship window or the making runs to the playoff window. So, they might look like Scherzer's not going to do much for us in 1, 2, 3 years, however long. I could see that. But at the same time, he's coming off an injury. He's had one great start. If he has, 3-4 more starts in the next month before the trade deadline and is just lights out, then his value goes up immensely. But I think if he does that, the Rangers are just, unless he's doing all this pitching great, and then the Rangers, lose 20 of 30 or whatever in the next month, then they'll be like, okay, let's just retool. Let's just get rid of Scherzer because he's probably not going to be as effective for us next year. Get something back that we can work with. I don't know, maybe some, just some prospects to use as trade pieces later, next year, something like that. But I don't know. I can't imagine them trading Scherzer at this point, but who knows? A month is a long time in baseball time. So,
yeah, for sure. And outside of some contender type team, looking to try and acquire Scherzer, and the Rangers just get like a really good deal for him, I don't see it happening, to be honest. And I just don't think the Rangers are in such a position that we're ready to just kind of sell our ticket to the playoffs. I would imagine we're still going to be in a position to, try and push and try to get in. So yeah, I really don't anticipate Scherzer going anywhere. Maybe the Rangers pick up one guy or something. At the moment, even off the top of my head, I'm not even sure who that might be. We'd have to,
still have a long time, and we have many more weeks before. Yeah, like let some guys get back. And then in the next month you'll have some more teams decide that they're going to be sellers. That really matters. You don't know
also true. Yeah.
who's potentially there because you don't know who might be selling. Right now you have the Cubs, the White Sox, the A's. Those are the Angels. Right. Those are the only teams that are for sure going to be sellers at the deadline. So Marlins, a few other teams, but there are a lot of teams that are in the same position as the Rangers, and they're waiting to see what the next, few weeks holds to see, what their strategy is going to be short term and long term.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so still in the realm of baseball, but having just come down, was it Monday? I think it was. Edwin Diaz is facing a 10-game suspension after being found to have sticky stuff, which makes me laugh so much. That's the technical term, I guess. Sticky stuff on his hands. He tried to argue, complain, advocate that it was just rosin, sweat, and dirt. He had put his hand in the dirt. The home plate umpire, I'm blanking on his name, basically said, no way. We've checked thousands of hands in my career. This is not that. Like, this was something way stickier, something way different.
This isn't the first person to make that excuse. It's like every time it's like, it's just rosin, sweat, everything. I'm with the umpire on this one, which is not something I say very often. I would go to him because umpire has nothing. I doubt he really wants to throw any. Like he has no motivation to screw anybody over or throw this guy out. So and the player has every motivation to use the sticky stuff, as they say, and perform better. So why wouldn't it? And I think this is probably some sort of training umpires go through, not only seeing it in real time in real games when guys use this excuse, but they probably deal with all sort of substances. This is what they use. This is what they might be using. Hey, I think that, because cheating has evolved over the years where there's newer, better, slicker ways to cheat, and umpires and referees in every sport have to be educated on this just to keep up and know what they're looking at.
Yeah, this one, in all honesty, so the news is, I actually forgot to check on this just before the show, but the news is that Edwin Diaz is not going to appeal the suspension, which I think is a little crazy if you're absolutely claiming that this was resin, sweat, and dirt.
He knows.
And he even said afterwards, like, it was resin, sweat, and dirt. They didn't find anything on my glove or my belt or like anywhere else, like whatever. And it's like, okay. And I mean, not to mention the fact that like anytime a suspension comes down in just about any sport, you're able to appeal. And I would almost argue that a good majority of the time on those appeals, you get some kind of reduction in sentence, like it goes from 10 games to 8 games or something like that.
I mean, you should always appeal in every situation because there's not a negative. I mean, even when you appeal, you get to keep playing. I mean, I know. Back when Nelson Cruz played for the Rangers and it was his last season and he had a PED situation, he didn't appeal because he knew, I'm a free agent. I'm going to take my suspension now and not next year because it's going to affect my, my contract.
Your free agency deal.
My free agent negotiations. If he's not going to, there's no one saying, hey, you're not going to win it. You should. I mean, there might be, but that's not a good enough reason. It's not like, hey, you appeal and you lose, you're going to, get a bigger suspension. It's not like they're trying to make a deal now to avoid trial or anything. So, I'm surprised he's not appealing, but I mean, I think it just shows more that he's guilty, and we all know he's guilty a lot. I bet you 20-30% of all players use something. It's something, whether it's just dramatic or not. He got caught. It's just something like he tried it. He got caught, whatever. Same, Tom Brady deflating balls or his ball boy or whoever. I bet you a lot of quarterbacks do that to some extent. He got caught. That's how it works. Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said too, like he's not the first guy to try and do this. He definitely won't be the last. Honestly, one of the big ones I'm remembering off the top of my head was when CC Sabathia had the smudge on his neck and they kicked him out for that. So I mean, guys have been doing this for a long time. If I'm being completely honest, there's a part of me that almost wants to just let pitchers use sticky stuff to their advantage. I don't know. it's a complicated thing just because like I understand that just to get like scientific about it and everything, right? Um, on say a curveball for example, right? The more the ball breaks is based on how much the ball spins, right? So
Yeah.
the more RPMs you can kind of put on the ball, the more it moves, the more it breaks, the more it drops off at the end. And that's the main reason pitchers use sticky stuff. It gives them a little bit better grip to help them generate more spin. And so, and basically the way this all works, it's the same concept that makes airplanes fly. You know, it's the air pressure on one side of the ball is different than another side, and so the ball can move. And personally, I think that if you're not practicing with that sticky stuff and trying to like, put like that much spin on the ball and everything,
Yeah.
then just going into a game with sticky stuff on your hand and trying to like throw the ball with more command, I don't personally think it gives you more command because like now the ball's going to move more. You know what I mean? And ultimately, like one of my big things anyway is like you're talking about every other player on the field, right? 8, 9 if you want to count the DH in the AL, players on the field that actively use pine tar, and they put it on their hats, they put it on their helmets, they put it on their bats, I mean, and the only player out there that like can't touch the stuff basically is the pitcher. And I mean, I think that's a little crazy if it's on everything, like whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've always just kind of had like a mixed feeling about pitchers using sticky stuff. In all honesty, one thing I've thought of too, and it goes right along with like using sweat and rosin to create sticky stuff in your hand. And I've seen pitchers do that and show like it does make it a little sticky. But I mean, think of all like the hair product and stuff that you could like just put in your hair, like I don't know. They got one. I can't. I'm not thinking of the name or the brand or whatever. But it's almost like school glue. It's like white paste, and you put it in your hair to style it and everything. And I'm like, man, if you were to put some of that in your hair and just go out there and start pitching and everything, and then it's like every once in a while, take your cap off, you run your hand through your hair, and you get some of that sticky hair gel on your hand. It's like, what's really against the rules about that, right? The fact that you just styled your hair before the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it feels like a really weird kind of gray area to be arguing with pitchers about, illegal substances and like what's fair as far as them like mixing dirt, rosin, and sweat, and what's not fair. I don't know. I think it would also make for like more interesting pitching duels. It would definitely make pitchers a little harder to hit, being able to throw a little faster or balls with more movement and stuff. But there's still pitches that exist that it like this kind of thing doesn't necessarily matter. Putting a lot of extra spin on a four seam fastball is not really going to change it a whole lot. If you throw a knuckleball, I mean that's a pitch that has no spin on it. So the whole point is to like get it out of your hand. So I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made for like just letting them pitch with whatever on their hands.
Yeah,
I also understand the integrity of the game and that kind of thing.
Everybody's cheating. Nobody's cheating.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah, I mean, batters might disagree with that, but I mean, I guess if everybody's at the same level, I think there's definitely something to be said that some pitchers, if you said everybody can use it, some pitchers are able, based on their style and what pitches they throw, that they'll be able to benefit from it more than other pitchers. But
like a slider pitcher for sure would benefit more than a fastball pitcher, I'm sure. But
and it changes the values of some pitchers than others, and the same thing with hitters. But yeah, I'm more for it because I don't care. I think overall it'll even out anyways. I mean, maybe across the league batting averages go down a smidge, strikeouts go up, something like that. But I don't think it's going to have this huge influx and cause something, the league as a whole to change that much. But I don't know, they're kind of just protecting their own brand, their own game, and shoot, it's been looked down upon for so long that, it's just part of the game now.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. The game, sports in general, every sport in general has always been evolving and changing over the years and the generations and things. And I mean the baseball isn't nearly what it was, like 100 years ago, and considering that, they used to let guys, spit on the ball, or hell, I remember learning about, I want to say it was like baseball in like the early 1900s, might even been like the 1920s or something like that. But it was like when a new baseball came in, it was like the pitcher's responsibility to like mash that thing up, spit on it, spike it up with his cleats, whatever, and usually the ball ended up getting to a point after, getting smacked by the bat a few times and whatever, that it's kind of why they ended up calling it like a pill and things, because it would get all mashed up. It wasn't even round anymore. And so you would even have like third baseman who would have a hard time throwing it back to first because the shape of the ball is no longer round, so it doesn't fly properly through the air, So I mean, I don't know. I think this would be an interesting adaptation or something for them to, put into the rules and allow pitchers to do, that would make the game maybe a little more interesting in the sense that like you would have kind of like what you're saying, I guess you would probably have more strikeouts and things like that. To the other side of that argument too, I can totally understand how fans love the long ball, man. People love to see bombs. People love to see hits, and people don't get as excited about strikeouts as they do home runs or grand slams. I mean, people would rather see.
It takes certain baseball fans to really appreciate the 1-0, 2-1 games, the pitchers, duels, but it can get pretty boring.
But yeah, they can. I mean, they really can, and everybody loves to see the hits.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Let's talk Cowboys. Let's talk Cowboys a little bit.
If we have
you to. You were the one that actually kind of sent this to me, or pointed it out to me. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy is fed up, as the quotes say, with Jerry Jones's undermining of him and his coaches.
Aren't we all, though?
I mean, honestly, it was the first thing that I thought when I read this at first, because I was like, it feels like, just as a Cowboys fan, this is what Cowboys fans have been feeling for a long time. And especially when certain moves happen within the organization that make us kind of question like why or who made that decision. And I feel like 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh, that was a Jerry thing. But I don't, man. I'm gonna let you kick this off, because I have some stuff to say, but it's such a weird thing. So kick us off here, man. What are you thinking?
That's like, okay, you go out with the boys and drink and hang out, and you come back way too late or way too early in the morning, or maybe you're just out in your room podcasting too long and your wife gets mad. But it's like when your wife says something the next morning, it's like, we know Mike McCarthy's fed up. It's not, on itself, it's not a breaking news story.
Right.
But the fact that, the fact that it's a news story, what did he say? Why is he? We know he's fed up, but what specifically is the reason that he said to a reporter or interview or whatever that we know that he's frustrated? It kind of perks your ears up. You're like, okay, I know my wife's mad at me, but what am I doing right now? Why? It's like, what do you know?
Yeah, but really the equivalent here too is not only is your wife mad in this situation, but it's your kids that have gone running out of the house and they're telling everybody like, oh man, mom is fed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like other people from within the house are all coming out now and they're like, oh yeah, like it's getting bad in there. You know what I mean?
You're like,
that's what's crazy about it, because it's not just McCarthy being like, I'm getting so fed up. It's the other coaches and the other personnel and lieutenants and things like that for the Cowboys that are like, ugh, like it's getting messy in there. Like, we don't know what's going on, but
we know you're fed up, but tell us why. We want to know the drama. Right. Tell us what the problem is. that we don't already know? Is it because he said all in and did nothing? It's not giving you
Now,
a team.
see, that's what I want to talk about because that's actually my train of thought here, right? So,
Okay.
Cowboys offseason starts. We obviously get upset by the Packers in the first round of the playoffs. We go home early, not the way our season was supposed to end at all. We lose our center, Tyler Diaz, and running back Tony Pollard to free agency and do nothing about it. We've got
They signed Zeke.
4 personnel is what I'm going to say that are all under their final year in contract. McCarthy is one of them, and then CD Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Dak Prescott are 3 probably hottest players, are all on final years of their contracts, and absolutely nothing has been done for any of them. And then the only real move that the Cowboys have made in this offseason was to bring back Zeke Elliott, which I'm not necessarily against, and considering like the pickings were slim by the time we got Zeke, I don't necessarily think it was the worst decision, but I feel like we could have done better if we would have acted sooner or something, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I can understand
or
like so much of
Derrick
McCarthy's frustrations here when it's like, this is a good Cowboys team. We should be able to win a Super Bowl, especially if you keep key players in the roster and everything. But to not do anything for like the 6 months this offseason has existed now is insane. Detroit has re-signed a number of players and even acquired some defensive players. The Eagles went and got Saquon Barkley. You know, like plenty of teams are like doing things and making moves to try and like make things happen. And all I can honestly think of right now is I'm not only worried about the Cowboys this season, I'm worried about the Cowboys' future in general. You know what I mean? Having like a head coach on the bubble, having your quarterback on the bubble, having your number 1 receiver on the bubble, having your arguably one of your best defensive players on the bubble. Like there is no security here on this team like whatsoever. And I was reading earlier that basically one of the biggest issues that McCarthy is having is that players don't necessarily want to listen to the coaches because Jerry Jones will do whatever he wants to do and he'll sign or re-sign whatever players. And so players are more concerned with Jerry Jones than they are with their coaches. You know what I mean? And that makes it very hard to like coach your locker room when your locker room isn't exactly listening to your coaches, you know? It's such a shit situation in my opinion, like lack for a better term, because there's no real reason for Jerry Jones to be as involved with the team as he is. And I mean, maybe this is just me being bitter as a Cowboys fan for the nearly 40 years that Jerry's been running the team, but it doesn't feel like he's really hardly ever been like that great at running the team from how close he tries to be to it. Now, that's not to say that he's not a great businessman, that he doesn't know what's going on in the NFL and that he hasn't done historical things for the NFL as far as like implementing a salary cap and things like that, you know, but like at some point he's got to step back from the team and like let the coaches coach and let the team, you know, like I don't understand his level of involvement, especially with him just getting older and older and everything. And it's like, you know, you have people like in place, family members, even like your kids and things like that, that also understand the business and the league and the team and all these things. And I don't know, this particular situation that we're in is very odd, even for the Cowboys and whatever, because there's just, like I said, there's no security here. I can't imagine anyone on this roster feels safe. No one like feels good about how we're going to be going into this next season. OTAs and everything are getting ready, and like we're not ready.
Yeah. Well, Jerry Jones and making the wipe off your mouth.
Right, I'm just like, oh.
Jerry Jones making this, helping implement the salary cap. You know, to me, I think it's because he's cheap and didn't want to have to spend a bunch of money because he could outspend every team. And never before the salary cap, after, the Cowboys have never been the top 10 in salary cap and spending on their roster ever. So that kind of shows you how all in he's ever been. From the point of Mike McCarthy, he's in a contract year, so I can understand his frustrations. I don't think he cares much about Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, because, signing them after, he may not even be working, be the coach anymore. You could make the argument that if you re-sign some of them, give them new contracts, you can push a lot of that money off with signing bonuses and open some cap room now to help sign players for this upcoming season. Because I think Mike McCarthy, he'll tell you, I'm the coach, I'm whatever. I'm always thinking of the future until they tell me not to. But he's thinking this year specifically because he's like, I have to do something. I don't know what level he, in his mind, where the bar is. To me, I thought the bar last year was NFC Championship or you get fired, and that wasn't the case at all. So I can't even pretend to pick what the bar may be this year. But he's, from, I know they got blown out by the Packers, but from the last game last year to now, they are not a better roster. You can make an argument they're a worse roster. You have Zeke back, yes. They did have a pretty decent draft. We'll see how that. You lost Tyron Smith. I think Biotish, I think that's going to be an improvement overall. They did sign Kendricks, middle linebacker. Pretty good signing. Really good if you think from the perspective they needed, more linebacker depth.
Yeah.
But I do not believe they are as good a team now as they were last year, but they were outside of the playoffs. They were a very talented team. So I fully expect this to be like a 10, 11 win team. Especially if some of their draft picks do pan out, as I think at least a couple of them can, give them playing time now. From the perspective of, hey, you maybe Jerry's thinking is Dak's on a contract year, McCarthy's on a contract year, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, they're gonna ball out. They're gonna, play their asses off because of that. Now, maybe Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy, you're right about, because CeeDee Lamb and Micah, they might be holdouts. I don't know. I think Micah will overall, I think his is more of just resting his body because he's undersized edge rusher. But if you don't give CeeDee Lamb a contract, I don't know if he, how long he'll push it. It might be like Emmitt Smith and hold out even longer. Of course, Emmitt Smith, very specific. Emmitt Smith did not hold out. He played his contract. Emmitt Smith did not have a new contract. So his wasn't really a holdout. I just thought that needs to be said. CeeDee Lamb is under contract.
Honestly, I agree. If any of these four players that we were talking about, or three players and a coach, deserve a new contract, I'm gonna say Mike Parsons is first on my list. And CeeDee Lamb is second.
CeeDee Lamb has had pretty good years and then one really good year. Micah Parsons is doing things that no other player has done.
But I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think Dak Prescott's worth the price tag that we're already paying him. And if he can't at the very least put me in an NFC Championship game, I'm probably heavily considering just releasing him. Now, the crazy part here, in my opinion, is that releasing Dak Prescott and getting nothing for him, as far as
they'd just be letting
not
him
trading him or something,
releasing him.
Seems like a loss for the Cowboys. And if Dak Prescott does in fact end up a free agent, I've been saying this since I got on the show last November, somebody will pick him up. There's no doubt in my mind. Dak Prescott on paper is
almost
a
any
top
team will
quarterback
pick him
in the NFL.
I think we're talking maybe record-breaking contract, just like you just saw with Kirk Cousins, how much he got paid. Dak Prescott, very comparable. I think a little bit more talented than Kirk Cousins. I think you reset the quarterback market. I think he'll take less for the Cowboys, but man, I don't want to see it. I don't think. It just depends how Dak plays this year. I kind of want to avoid the Cowboys going in that quarterback purgatory. because you never know what's going to happen with that. But I'm kind of curious to see like what Dak Prescott would get on the open market. I think some team will pay him $60 million, $70 million maybe. I don't know. You still have a few more quarterbacks that are probably going to get paid before that happens. So I don't know how far we could go. We went from thinking Dak $40 million, there's no way, to now Daniel Jones makes like $42 million. To it's just ridiculous now how high these quarterback salaries could go.
Yeah, well, Jared Goff I think is getting like 55.
Yeah, and that's what it is.
After he just signed that 4-year $212 million, and then who was it? Jacksonville's.
Yeah, that's Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence just signed a contract worth more than that. So
we need to have an episode.
I would imagine that's what Dak is
Trevor
looking
Lawrence,
for.
Is he a bust? That needs to be an off-season topic. We'll put. I know we don't have a lot of time here, but just earmark that. Write that down somewhere. When we have a slow week, we need to talk about that too.
Oh, for sure. We'll definitely get more into that stuff, especially as we get closer to football and fantasy football.
I wouldn't imagine that this should have been the offseason. He got that. I mean, I know that's how the cards fall because you need your extension, but for what he's done, I don't know. But
yeah, that was a generous contract. I agree.
that's a very nice way to say that, generous contract.
Yeah,
we need to get his stats down and like do a good show.
Yeah, but ultimately, I think the big thing that I just kind of want to leave off here with the Cowboys and McCarthy's frustrations with Jerry Jones. I've been like a Cowboys fan my entire life. I'm willing to even concede that, like through the 90s, I didn't necessarily pay a lot of attention to him. I was young, sub 10 years old, that kind of thing. But like, through the 2000s, with Bledsoe and like Romo taking his place and everything that's happened all through those years and up until now, I can't think of another time when the Cowboys have done like so little in the offseason and have left themselves in such a position so close to August and the start of preseason football that has left me in question not only for the upcoming season, this 2024 season, but for the following seasons. There's such a question mark right now on like this Cowboys roster and the head coach and just kind of everything that seems to be going on behind the scenes that I genuinely like don't understand what the Cowboys are planning for our future 2, 3, 5 years in the future. This team feels very precarious right now. It literally feels like even if we manage to figure it out and make some players happy and everything, that's only going to get us to the end of this season. It doesn't prepare us for the next, and it just, I don't know why, but it feels like the Cowboys and Jerry Jones have literally reached the end of like their planned paved road. And now we're just kind of freestyling it on these dirt roads. And we're hoping things will get better, but honestly, Dumb Sports Takes, you may be right. It feels like, there's got to be something happening here that's just like holding us back. I think it's Dak Prescott personally. I don't think Jerry Jones is helping any either, but it just, I've never worried more for the Cowboys as a whole than I have like at this point leading up to this coming season, just because I cannot understand what they're doing. And you know what? Maybe that's why maybe that's why they don't pay me the big bucks. Like maybe that's why I don't work for the Cowboys organization. Maybe they got big things in the works or in the plans or whatever, but it does not feel good right now.
I'll leave off on the Cowboys with this because this is, I don't want to get too deep. This is a subject for another show. I think it's the culture. As much as we praise Jerry for his marketing geniuses and keeping the Cowboys relevant through mediocrity, is what's hurting him too. When you go to the Star and do tours of the facilities and you're watching all the guys work out and do everything like that, I think he gets in their head and he's like, hey, dude, we've made it. We're already stars. We're Cowboys, I don't think many franchises deal with that. And that's where I'll leave it off. We can expand on that in the future. I think Jerry has made this more or less a circus, a very successful circus from the business standpoint. And I think it's taking away whatever you want to call it, their hunger or whatever. I'm sure every player on there wants to win, is going to try hard. But I think at the end of the day, look at Micah Parsons and his offseason, NBA All-Star, doing his podcast, doing things with media outlets. I think at the end of the day, they're like, we'll be fine. I'm still going to make my money. I'm still going to, be in commercials. I'm still going to go out and do events because I play for the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, it's a good point, and you're probably not wrong.
And it's going to be, I think it's a slew of many things, not just this or that. Did you just take a shot?
Yes, I did.
Wow, I didn't think I was making that good of a point. Where you're just like,
no, man, I just get that frustrated about the Cowboys.
I don't blame you. You talk Cowboys. I'm like, man, I should have had an alcoholic drink nearby, right, just because I knew we were going to talk about that.
All right, so we'll shift a little closer to the Olympics, not quite to the Olympics just yet, but I want to talk about. Well, let's start with the men's USA soccer team in the Copa America. Sunday, the men's USA soccer team beat Bolivia 2-0 in Arlington on Sunday. Faced Panama tomorrow at 5 and Uruguay on Monday. So far, Team USA looking like pretty good. I don't know if you actually got to see any of that game or how busy you were on Sunday.
Yeah,
pretty decent game though. USA had a lot of scoring opportunities considering this was only like a 2-0 game. Pulisic scored early. I want to say it was like within the first 5 minutes of the game, and Balogun scored in the second half at like 54, something like that. Ricardo Pepi had like 4 opportunities where he just missed on the goal and everything. But this has been one of the more exciting USA soccer teams, men's USA soccer teams I've seen in a while. We've got some great strikers, and they were doing a great job just kind of maintaining possession, staying aggressive. This definitely could have been like a 7-0 game. We obviously weren't able to finish and put the ball in the back of the net, get that last piece going a little bit. But, for the most part, like doing pretty well. It's also pretty cool. Got a number of these games happening right here in Dallas and in Jerry World, playing at the Death Star. But keep an eye out for that. I don't necessarily have a whole lot to say about it. Just kind of wanted to shout them out. It was a good game on Sunday. Like I said, play again tomorrow night at 5 against Panama. Just look for them to get some more strikes, man. It should be a good game. These guys are pretty good. They're pretty primed. They're pretty ready. So keep an eye on that one. Shifted over to the women's national team. News came out today that Alex Morgan, 35, was left off of the women's national team for the Olympics in Paris this year. It's the first time she's been left off since 2008, which was actually before she had even transitioned to pro or whatever. Alex Morgan, a 2-time World Cup champion and top 10 in USA team history, in goals with 123, assists with 53. And games played 224. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. What do you think? Is this like? I mean, she is 35. I will throw this out there for the sake of argument. This season in pro soccer, I can't exactly remember the league abbreviation or whatever, but for women's soccer here in the States, Alex Morgan has been dealing with an ankle injury. Up to this point, she's only played in 8 games, and through those 8 games, she's got no goals and 1 assist. So just kind of your thoughts, I guess, on Alex Morgan being omitted from this USA team for Paris.
Well, it's an end of an era. I mean, she's obviously played on the most prolific women's soccer I'm gonna say team, because Team USA, I mean, it shifts year to year, but in the last, decade or
Yeah.
more, when women's soccer has, I guess, been the height of popularity, for better or worse. A lot of political stuff involved, but soccer is one of those sports that the Olympics are really number two. Most Olympians are training, and this is the world stage. This is it. This is as big as it gets. But soccer, women's and men's, it's like, well, we have the World Cup. So it's like every few years they're playing. I guess you said she hadn't been left off since 2008. So what's that? 3 Olympics, and I think she's played in 4 World Cups, or at least 3.
3 World Cups, but they lost the last one, I believe.
Okay, so she's played on the stage.
But she's got 2 World Cup championships.
Yeah, so she's played 6 major tournaments, counting more than 6 major tournaments, but the major Olympics and World Cup. And that's just every couple of years she's in the news, and for the most part, when these big events are happening. And it's weird. It makes me feel old to hear that she's 35, because it has been. That's just how the world works. It's like, yeah, well, that's about right, because I remember them winning. Was it against Japan in the shootout? And then I'm thinking, yeah, that didn't seem like too long ago. Then I remember where I was living when we watched that. I wasn't even married to my wife yet. We were engaged. And I'm like, holy crap, that was a long time ago. So yeah, the math works. The math is math in there. I'm like, she shouldn't be retiring, but I guess, that's just age, and that's how old we are. And we're going to miss her. I mean, I say that like she's retiring. Like, obviously she's probably not going to play in the next Olympics at 39. The next Women's World Cup, what is that, next year? Is Women's World Cup right after the Olympics the next year?
I'm not positive. I want to say the Men's World Cup is 2 years away. But to be honest, too, like since COVID and everything threw everything off a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I want to say that there was supposed to be a World Cup in 2020 for COVID. Yeah. But it was canceled or postponed. Same as the Olympics, right?
Yeah, the Olympics were like 2021 for Japan, for Tokyo. Yeah. So maybe the next World Cup, if she can stay healthy, she can play in that. But it's a little disappointing to hear that she's left off.
Yeah, I was the same. Just a little disappointed. Alex Morgan, probably one of my favorite players from the women's team. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, she's a striker. She scores the goals. She's good at it. I feel like I was a little surprised, kind of the same way I was with Caitlin Clark being left off the roster, in that, like, she's a very popular player, sells tickets and that kind of thing. But at the same time, too, I also understand, like, just how crazy competitive the women's national team is.
Women's
just
soccer is way too. Yeah, you can't be picking players.
And there's so many great, like, younger, talented athletes to put on that roster, and you obviously want to put yourself in a position to go win gold, not necessarily to just sell tickets or get people to tune in.
Soccer is a different animal for the rest of the world.
Soccer is very different than that of basketball.
It's not like basketball where you're like, we're favored or whatever, and they may be favored. I don't know. I haven't looked at the rankings in women's soccer, but it's not going to be a cakewalk at all.
Right. And I mean, honestly, just kind of building on like what you were saying too, I believe she's been in 3 World Cups. They won the first 2, and then they lost that last World Cup that they were in when they got upset in like the first or second round or something. Yeah.
Okay, that was recent, so there's still going to be a few more years.
Yeah, so it might be a couple more years for them. But yeah, that was the big thing that I remembered, because the upset against the women's team that year was, everybody was so upset about it. It was like an unreal upset. I wish I could even remember who they lost to. It was like, I don't even remember now. It wasn't.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, but yeah, still kind of building on like what you were saying. 35 years old and being left off of this roster. It's kind of an unwanted sign that your career is nearing the end, more or less.
Yeah.
For her, I mean, honestly, her just being left off of this roster makes me think that, in a year or two, when the World Cup comes back around or whatever, I can't imagine she'll make that roster. And the idea of her making the next Olympics is even slimmer than that. So, just kind of, I think we're kind of reaching the end of a great soccer career here. And I mean, I'm sure she would, prefer to go out in one last Olympics and get another gold medal or something like that. But Alex Morgan has absolutely nothing to be ashamed of in her career. Maybe some off the field stuff, but as far as her soccer career itself, she's been an outstanding player, a role model, I guess, to young women and girls, playing sports and all that stuff too. So shout out to her for an amazing soccer career. Wish we would get to see her in Paris, but go Team USA all the same. And best of luck to Alex Morgan and the rest of her soccer career. Still on the topic of soccer just a little bit, and then we'll get into my final Olympics here. In my research and whatnot this week, I came to find that during some of these soccer games that have been going on, Germany placed a ban on England fans from singing a particular song / team chants, affectionately named 10 German Bombers.
Is that like a World War II deal?
Yeah, I'll sing a little clip of it here in a second, I guess. But it's basically to the tune of She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain. And it is a World War II reference. It was basically said that if you sang the song at the England-Germany game, which was in Germany, I guess like Germany had kind of put out a thing that said like you could be arrested, you could be fined, that kind of thing. I was basically reading that it was actually kind of difficult for them to actually enforce any of that because singing a song is not really like a punishable offense. But
yeah, you can get enough people to do it too. It's
yeah. So the song is basically a countdown. Think like 99 bottles of beer on the wall.
Yeah.
So you start with 10 German bombers, and it's like, there were 10 German bombers in the air. There were 10 German bombers in the air.
I think I've heard this too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the next verse is, and the RAF from England shot them down. And the RAF from England shot them down.
Man,
and then you do the next one, 9 German bombers in the air.
Okay.
And they do this countdown. And so it eventually gets to, there were no German bombers in the air. And I mean, that's basically the song. The song is really just a countdown and a celebration of the RAF's victory over the Luftwaffe in World War II.
See, the fact that when the U.S., I'll tell you, that's not a big deal.
I agree. I don't think.
I think the fact that the U.S. can play a baseball game in England and sing the national anthem, which is about basically, I don't remember when we wrote the national
more or less
anthem.
The invasion of the British troops.
Yeah, but it was against
America,
it was it was American troops fighting off the British troops,
right?
And, we sing it in their country against them, and we don't hear any clapback from them to like, y'all can't sing that. And I'm sure when we play NFL games there, they sing the national anthem as well. I get it from Germany's side, and they're pretty embarrassed about World War II stuff. Like,
sure,
I would be too. I'd be a little bit ashamed of it, but I mean, they did it. So
right. I mean,
it's like, hey, we were pretty offended when you were bombing us too, but yeah, I guess it's different in Europe, so they get a little more sensitive about things. I have no problem with it. I mean, it's soccer. They say way more offensive stuff and use way more offensive language than singing a song.
Yeah,
but Yeah, that's really difficult to enforce. And I don't know who is getting offended, because that's not even like the premise of the song. Sure, is talking about war, but it's, you telling me all the other stuff they say, chants and cussing and everything, it's not even like, okay, that's an offensive song because kids are around, or like,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know who particularly is offended by that and is stopping somebody from singing it. It's a German national team, German government. I don't know, but talking
Yeah.
about keeping your panties
That one
in
just
the water.
seems like a sensitivity issue. Just to kind of keep the topic going a little bit, there are like actual real issues with soccer chants. I happen, like, just in the little bit of research I was doing, Mexico has actually been fined. Back in 2022, they were fined $108,000 because they have had issues with like anti-gay chants from their fans during
Yeah,
games.
that's
Last year, actually, the Mexico versus USA game came to an abrupt end. I want to say, if I remember correctly, I was reading it. There was like 4 minutes of stoppage time, and the ref just called the game. I believe USA was winning like 3-0. So I mean, the odds of Mexico actually coming back in that time was super slim. But I guess earlier in that game, before he abruptly ended the game in the middle of stoppage time, there had been like a pause to the game where they put a message up on the board that was basically like, these types of chants won't be tolerated. If you're caught,
yeah.
you'll be removed. You won't get a refund. Like, intolerance doesn't belong here and whatever. And then the other big one that I actually just found, this just happened last week. The UEFA is investigating claims by Serbia that both the Croatian and Albanian fans were chanting, I don't want to say this on our stream just because I don't want us to get like in trouble or anything, but it rhymes with skill, the Serb. And that's what they were chanting. And
yeah.
And that one I'm definitely not okay with. That's not okay. Doing anti-gay chants, in all honesty, I wish I could have found some to maybe even give a type of example.
I can't even imagine like how these are relevant. I mean, maybe if there's a gay player, that doesn't make it right at all. But it's like the English to German one is pretty funny to me. But you're playing the German team. If a player has a certain situation off the field that he's dealing with and it's in the media and you chant about that, sure, make fun of him, whatever. But like, you're making fun of a bunch of gay people by making gay chants that have nothing to do with the game. And then that other terrible one, that, I mean, it's just hateful. I guess it could be relevant based on who they're playing, but
I mean, they were playing the Serbs.
I have if you're doing like chants like zingers or your mama type jokes, like they're just all fun and games, like keep it appropriate for the audience, because there are a lot of kids at these games. But sometimes they're funny. Sometimes you take a jab at the other team or a specific player. It's fun, but when you start getting hateful and saying racist, homophobic, all that kind of stuff, it just takes away from it, because there's not one English fan that was offended talking about German bombers and we're taking them down.
Right.
But if a team's making gay chants, anti-gay chants, well, there's a fan or a player or something for the team that's making the chants more likely is gay. And so you don't think that person's like, hey, this is no fun. We're, it's kind of making fun of me,
right.
But you're saying about the other team, which again is not even relevant. We're just calling people gay now. And then we're, the other one's just obviously terrible. But I like and respect soccer in the sense, especially worldwide soccer, in the sense that it gets pretty vicious. It's very, very aggressive in that way. But I mean, it's got to fan, when the opposing player in basketball shoots a three or just shoots anything and air ball and everybody yells air ball, it's funny. Right. It's very frustrating, but it's funny because he shot air ball, like make fun of them. But it's a sport. I'd like to keep race, politics, anything out of it. Like just keep hate out all together. You know.
Yeah. And just kind of like to what you were saying, like one of the things I love about soccer, especially like European soccer, international, I love the songs. I love the chants, you know.
Yeah.
I wish honestly I wish Team USA had some better ones. The only one I'm terribly familiar with is the I Believe chant, and to be honest, I'm over it. It's a little old at this point, and I'd like us to, you know, come up with something else. But it's probably the one thing I'm like most jealous of with like most other international teams is that they have like cool songs and chants and things like that. I think
Yeah.
10 German Bombers is a good one. It's a
It's very
blanket
creative.
statement. It's not
Yeah.
actually talking about like necessarily any like specific person or even necessarily like a specific player or anything like that.
And it was World War II. Like if there was an issue with Germany and England having a war 10 years ago, sure, let's not do that.
Right.
But,
Yeah. If it was yesterday, but we're talking 80
Yeah.
years ago, you know?
yeah. And these are funny, and a lot of those ones that are hateful, it's just lazy and it's dumb.
Yeah.
There's no effort
And
put into it.
when heckling starts to become that, when it starts to become personal, when it starts to become hateful and that kind of thing, like that's when I can't tolerate it, you know? I've even been to like baseball games and stuff, and I can enjoy people heckling players in just about any sport within reason, you know? And
Yeah, there's that one guy that's on TikTok. It's like,
yeah, he
you
does the
can't-
PG.
yeah, it's like you look like you leave your laundry out or some random, like I have no idea. I can't do it justice.
Yeah,
but yeah,
right. He's like,
it's
you
just
look
like
like you don't use laundry sheets in your dryer, you
yeah,
bum.
something like, and you're like waiting for it, and you're like, hey, wait, that's kind of funny. That's not
That's
even
kinda funny,
I think the
yeah.
players like that's
And
that's,
I was
like,
having-
that's very creative because it's so
Yeah.
dumb and irrelevant, but it's funny.
And I was having the same conversation with another friend of mine, and I mean maybe it's just my opinion, right? But if you can think of something that's like PG-13 like that, that's just really funny and kind of random, that's gonna get in a guy's head so much better than like calling him a pussy or something like that, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and I've been to a number of Rangers games with like friends, and I've even had like some friends get kicked out of Rangers games for like taking it too far when they're heckling the bullpen or whatever, you know. But it's genuinely like they've even told me, like I've asked security and stuff at the ballpark, like as long as you keep it PG-13 and you're not cussing at them or something like that, you can heckle them. They don't mind.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm fully aware that is not the case at every ballpark in America. I'm fully aware that like in Boston,
I feel like
and
it's
Philadelphia,
part of the
and New
game.
York,
The fans being involved.
right. And that's really what I'm saying, right? It's
cheering,
like it's that part. But I draw the line at when you have to start making things like personal, or when you have to start making things like hateful, you know, for whatever reason. There's plenty of ways to like make fun of people and like tease them or like get in their head a little bit in sports that doesn't involve, you know, like anti-gay slurs, racial slurs, or even like murderous talk, you know, like,
Yeah.
and because I'm with you, I have no problem with fans talking shit to each other, talking shit to players, and like yelling at the field or even the referees, you know. I have no problem with that within reason, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think this 10 German Bomber song is a prime example of just a great like kind of team chant that is like for you to use against a specific opponent.
It's more like team pride and fan pride. Like,
yeah, and I mean it's kind of historical.
Hear this, they don't even care one way or the other. I don't even know if they all speak English or whatever. I don't think they care where they're like, what the heck is this? Why they can't see that? I think they ignore it more than anything. But yeah, it's just a fun chant to get everybody kind of in the mood to watch a game, to get everyone in that mindset.
Yeah, I mean,
totally agree.
I love fans, and I love fans being involved in the game, in the sports. The songs, I personally think, is one of the greatest ways that fans have been able to get involved in sports from the stands. I love the chants, I love the songs, and I don't know, just Germany being a little sensitive, I guess it feels like.
For sure.
I think we can agree that there's an obvious kind of line to be drawn here, and this does not cross that line. So that pretty much finishes up that conversation. I always think it's very interesting to talk about like the different ways that fans heckle players or teams or whatever in all different sports. I mean, like I was saying, I know people like to heckle the bullpen and stuff when they're warming up at baseball games all the time. We do it here in Texas too. But obviously, some people take it a little too far sometimes,
Yep.
All right. So my final topic here, I want to talk about and just name off. I got a pretty good list of Olympians to kind of look out for. Pretty much everybody I have on here is going to be swimming and diving for right now.
Yeah.
The track and field is finishing up tomorrow and Friday, I believe. And gymnastics trials actually starts up tomorrow. The men's gymnastics, I think, is on tomorrow on Peacock or NBC, whichever one of those stations you get. So if you guys want to watch, I will definitely be checking that stuff out. Especially, I want to say in 2 or 3 days, the women's gymnastics trials start up. Simone Biles is an absolute beast, monster of a competitor, and after her, untimely walkout, I guess. I don't even know. It wasn't really a walkout.
Mental health
from Tokyo.
Mental health deal. She
was having an issue like
dealing with. Yeah.
I was talking about it a little bit last week with Kenny a little bit. She had some kind of it wasn't an inner ear thing, but she had an issue where she was having trouble like orienting where the ground was when she was flipping. So it was obviously like very dangerous for her. When she had first left and everything, I was like, oh man, I hope everything's okay. And then it was like a day or two later that news came out, and I was like, I do not blame her for
she got out of there. Like,
and she really did. And I was like, man,
I think there was a mental health aspect to it in those couple of days because for whatever reason she wasn't allowed to talk about it. Because that wouldn't have been me. Like if I had to say like, hey, I have to step away from Peak One, I can't be on any shows for a couple of weeks, and then I'm start getting bombarded on social media. I'm like, hey guys, I have a throat deal right now. I can't talk on mic or something like that. It's not because I'm a quitter or whatever. But I don't think I could handle that kind of stuff and not, reach out and post about it. But
oh, for sure. There's a whole documentary actually coming out on Netflix, I believe, just before the Olympics, about her road back to the Olympics from Tokyo to Paris. I will definitely be checking that out and might even talk about it on here after it drops and everything. Simone Biles is incredible. I love watching her. Let's start off with track and field just a little bit here. Shout out Sha'Carri Richardson, who did in fact qualify for the 100 meter. I don't think they finished the 200 meter races yet, though. I think they're getting ready to do that like tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah.
But Sha'Carri Richardson is in fact making it to this Olympics after the setback from the Tokyo Olympics, just after the passing of her mom and that kind of thing. So shout out Sha'Carri Richardson from right here in they said Dallas. I swear I want to say she's from Arlington. But I was
I'm sure
TV, they were saying Dallas.
You're talking about a world stage here. They're going to say, Fort Worth, Grapevine. I know there's a swimmer from Grapevine, and in the Olympic qualifiers they did say Grapevine, but I know the announcers kept saying Dallas, so you're going to hear Dallas for
probably just keep hearing Dallas
in the area.
Yeah. Let's see, Sydney McLaughlin-Lerone. She's actually crazy fast in the flat races. She's also a 400 meter racer, but only focusing on the 400 meter hurdles for this one, which she did qualify for. So watch for her. 400 meter hurdle. I think the 400 meter and the 800 meter race are like crazy races. I used to do a lot of track and field in high school, and the 400 and the 800 are basically long sprints.
Yeah.
Like the way these guys and women run these races is insane. I want to say the world record for like a 400 is like 44 seconds or something like that. It's insane. So doing a 400 meter race with hurdles is even crazier to me. And I love the hurdle races anyway, just because the coordination and the the way your strides like literally have to be like kind of measured out, and you take the same like 2-3 steps hurdle, 2-3 steps hurdle, you know.
There's higher chance for chaos too. It's like
Yeah,
running,
yeah.
like you're gonna get the burst of speed or whatever, but
Right.
hurdles, you know, you have to focus on that. And a lot of the times you focus too much, you're getting exhausted. 'Cause we were messing around, man. It was around vacation. And I'm not in shape at all.
Oh, me neither.
But yeah, we were like doing something similar to like hurdles, and like that knocked. I'm done. I can't. That knocked it out of me. Forget running.
Yo, for sure. I'm the same way, man. As much running as I used to do when I was younger, I've even just thought, I was like thinking about it the other day, watching some of the Olympic stuff, and I was like, if I tried to like run 100 meters, actually, really, what it was I don't know if you saw this, but I believe it was with Noah Lyles. Snoop Dogg ran a 200 meter.
Yes.
And he obviously lost, but man, for like a 70-year-old smoker, Snoop was moving, you know, like he was cruising that 200 meters. And I was like, man, I would have been embarrassed by a 72-year-old man. Like I would have gotten smoked in that race, because there's no way. I'm so out of shape. But speaking of Noah Lyles, this is the guy I'm excited to watch out for. Fastest man in the world, qualified for the 100 meter. Like I said, the 200 meter is Thursday and Friday. And he's racing in those. But if you are not aware of who Noah Lyles is, you may remember him as the guy who is showing off his Yu-Gi-Oh cards before each race.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love when athletes let their nerd flag fly.
Yeah.
I love it, you know, like let a little personality out, you know. Jamal Williams, when he was with Detroit and then last year with New Orleans, I loved when he was making like his Naruto references and talking about like he wanted to go home and play Pokemon, like that, like those were his plans, you know. I love when these nerds like show themselves like being full on nerds at this level of athleticism, you know. It's like it literally takes all kinds, and you can like whatever you like and still be whatever you want to be, you know. Like one like or dislike doesn't necessarily like define who you are. So definitely pulling for Noah Lyles. I mean, plus the fact that he's, you know, considered the fastest man in the world right now. Hopefully he gets into the 200. I want to say he was like close to the record or something on the 100, but he did well in the 100. We'll see how he does in the 200 coming up in the next few days. Then we'll shift over here to the swimming events. The swimming events, man, I don't know how much of this you actually saw. 9 days of swimming and diving done at Lucas Oil Stadium. It was the biggest crowd for indoor swim meet ever. On opening day, they had over 20,000 in attendance, and then on their 5th day, they crushed that record with over 22,000. So the turnout for this thing was incredible. Naturally,
for about 4 more years, I think. When it happens in LA in 2028, they've already said SoFi is going to build like a 36,000 seat.
Oh wow, that'll be amazing
complex. So yeah, but
honestly,
for now,
the turnout for this trials of swimming and everything, I'm sure will help kind of solidify that exact same thing happening in another stadium in the future. I mean, selling really 20,000 to a swim meet, you know, for 9 days in a row. I don't know if anybody thought this was going to happen, like when they did it, if they were just taking a chance, but I mean, it paid off big time. And honestly, it seemed like everybody was having a great time. I mean, I was just watching on TV, obviously, but like everybody there seemed to be enjoying the races. You know, the Olympians or potential Olympians were having a great time and everything. Got to see some amazing races, some world records and everything. Shout out some names. We'll start from the top with the obvious. Katie Ledecky has qualified for the 200 meter relay, 400 meter, 800 meter, and the 1500 meter freestyle, all freestyle. Shout out to her. I didn't really talk about it last week, but Katie Ledecky's got the top 19 times for the 1500 meter in freestyle, which is insane. That's an insane stat. That's an insane type of record to have. Just to be
like
the top
Michael
20
Phelps.
fastest person in that race, like always.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely puts a lot of pressure on her, I think, to win at the very least, that 1500 meter freestyle. But considering that she won the final heat by 20 plus seconds, I don't think she's got anything to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, the announcers even telling you, okay, we don't usually show this camera angle like as the last shot of somebody's winning, but we have to get all of the swimmers in the
in order to show,
because she'd won by such a great length.
Yeah, and honestly, the craziest part about that interview was after talking to her, Katie Ledecky said that she had wanted to be faster, but she'll take it. And I love that. I love that kind of hunger.
And races help for the non-swimming fan, where you could just watch it and you understand, at least to an extent, how dominant that is. I know you may not be familiar with the average win, between the average length between first and second or whatever, but like gymnastics and wrestling and other things can be hard to understand how dominant they are. But if you just watch the any Ledecky race, probably you can see the truth. Like that's like, I don't even think Michael Phelps is the right comparison. That's just the correct swimming comparison we have. I think she's gonna, when it's all said and done, be way more dominant and way more than Michael Phelps was. And I think that's saying something.
I mean, I agree in the sense that I definitely consider Katie Ledecky to basically be like this kind of, or really the last few Olympics. Michael
Joey
Phelps.
Chestnut of swimming.
It'll be tough for her to catch Michael Phelps just because she doesn't compete in as many events as Phelps did.
You're talking about
Phelps
like
was definitely competing
medals.
in like 8 events.
I just mean like dominating in.
But as far as like dominating her race, and especially like the race that she's the best at, which is obviously these freestyles, and especially this 1500 meter. I mean, it's crazy too, because honestly, just looking at her, like she is built for this. She is made for this, and the fact that not only is she made for this and she's good at it, but that she can kind of get over the mental hurdles and obstacles that come along with competing at this level and everything. And honestly, it was something I was just kind of thinking about the other day. It's like, when you're in the NFL or you're in the Major League Baseball or one of these other sports, every year is like a new chance. It's a new opportunity to pursue the championship, get to that game, win, lose, whatever. Athletes, Olympians like Katie Ledecky and everything spend 3 years, 4 years competing all around the world in order to like maintain like their fitness level and everything and their like ranking in the world, so that they can get this opportunity every 4 years to come in here and do this. I mean, winning a gold medal, in my opinion, is worth more than winning a Lombardi trophy. They give one out every year. They're only going to give out one gold medal in each event every 4 years. It's just, it's the nature of the beast. So just to be able to like maintain your athleticism for like 3 years of off season, while still competing and staying physically fit, just to get yourself to this opportunity, to this point. I think it takes something more than what your average athlete has in whatever major league sport,
For sure.
A few other names here. Simone Manuel and Caleb Dressel were actually 2 swimmers have qualified for their 3rd Olympics here, but they were both actually diagnosed with some health issues coming out of Tokyo. Caleb Dressel had noted some mental health issues. Simone Manuel had actually been diagnosed with overtraining in 2021 and was actually forced to take like 7 months off from physical activity and everything.
Yeah.
But they both managed to come back and qualify for their third Olympics. Simone Manuel in the 100-meter freestyle relay and the 50-meter freestyle, which, my personal opinion, like some of these longer races, the 1,500-meter freestyle, like KatieLedecky's and everything, those are tough races. They're long races. They're hard. But some of these shorter swim races, like the 50-meter and the 100-meter, honestly, regardless of what stroke you're doing, those are tough races too. Because we're talking about sprinting, like in the water.
Very little room for error. Like if you screw up a little bit in the longer ones, like okay, if you're the better swimmer, if you're the faster swimmer, you have some time to make that up. But in these quick ones,
right,
you have to be perfect.
You get a bad start that costs you a fraction of a second and everything, and that could be the difference between first and fourth.
Yeah, maybe one time you come up for breath, you swallow a little bit of water or whatever.
Yeah, or even on that last stroke, you don't take a second stroke like you should have, and you just try to reach out more. That could cost you. Those little things make such a big difference in these short races. And if we're talking about like the 100-meter, it's like if you make a bad turnaround for the comeback lap, makes it really tough. So those short races I'm a big fan of too. Caleb Dressel, after his health issues from Tokyo, he qualified for the 50-meter freestyle as well as the 100-meter butterfly and the 100-meter freestyle relay, 4x100, whatever you want to call it. Reagan Smith, this was one I believe that you had actually seen. I mentioned it like the first day, and she came on, and Reagan Smith set a world record for the 100-meter backstroke at 57.13 seconds. Which is also crazy to talk about because she set the last record in 2019 at 17 years old. So she broke her own record at 22 now.
Yeah.
But in 2019, 17 years old, she had set the backstroke record, which she just broke. She also qualified for the 200-meter backstroke and the 200-meter butterfly. Ryan Murphy, also headed for his third Olympics, qualifies for the 100-meter and 200-meter backstroke. Lily King, this one was kind of fun. She's the first American swimmer to compete in the 100 and 200 meter breaststroke in 3 consecutive Olympics. Really? And she also got engaged at the end of her qualifying. Her little, well, I don't want to say little. He looked like a big guy, but he proposed right at the end and like did it on live TV and everything. It was kind of cute. So shout out to her. Congratulations on making your third Olympics and getting engaged. That'll be fun.
Can you imagine if she would have said no?
Oh man, it would have been a heartbreaker. I feel like, honestly, it was kind of funny, just because they were like talking to him after he had engaged or proposed, and I guess when she was getting out of the pool, one of her coaches told her like take your hair down or whatever, because they knew what was going to happen. And then she walked over there and saw her boyfriend, was like confused, didn't understand why he was there. And then he like proposed, and then he was when they were asking like interview style about it, like oh, like why here, why now, whatever. And I guess she's like from Indiana and possibly like from the area, and like she had been competing, and like this was like a long road and everything. And I was like, not only did you like propose in like this very public situation, but like you almost put it to her like there's no way she could say no. Right? Like she just qualified for the Olympics. She's in like her hometown being cheered on by everybody. Like there's almost no way she was going to say no. So way to hedge your bet there, guy.
Yeah.
Well done. My last name for swimming here, I got Bobby Fink, who is defending gold in the 800 and 1500 meter freestyle men's. If I remember correctly, I didn't write this down, but I want to say, no, I think now that I'm thinking about it, defending gold, I think is just from Tokyo, from the last Olympics. But he's got gold in the 800 and 1500 meter freestyle, so he'll be defending that. And then finally, my last name here. This is in diving. Carson Tyler is the first U.S. diver to qualify for the 3 meter and 10 meter dives in 24 years. So shout out Carson to get that going. Man, I love watching that diving and stuff too. The individual diving is cool. Like what they're doing is awesome. The the difficulty, the technique, and everything. But the synchronized diving, I can't get over it. Right? Like, it's crazy to me how they've got to like jump the same height, twist at the same rate. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's
practicing with the
me.
same person. Yeah,
just the coordination that you have to have between the two people. I mean, gymnastics and everything is difficult enough to flip and twist and do all that, but to do it at like the exact same rate as somebody else right next to you, and then to like, you know, exit your flip at the same time, enter the water at the same angle at the same time. Oh, crazy stuff. But it is why I do
keep
love
a lookout for.
Oh, you know, I do have one guy to shout out here. I missed him. This is back on the track and field side. Ryan Krauser is our 2-time Olympic gold medalist in shot put. I just watched this guy throw like 55 meters the other day.
Wow,
insane. And it was crazy too, because he threw it and he knew as soon as he let it go, he was like, yes, like you could hear him. And he knew he threw that one great. I want to say I saw or read that he's got like the world record or something at like 59 meters or something like that in shot put, but I can't remember. Don't hold me to that. I could be lying. But yeah, so far through track and field and swimming, it looks like we've got some awesome athletes coming up. I guess I can shout this out real quick. I thought this was real funny. Did you happen to catch the Australian swimmer video? Her name is Kate Campbell. She's the Australian swimmer. So there was a video going around over the last week or two, especially with the swimming trials happening. Kate Campbell, this Australian swimmer, was basically talking about her distaste for USA swimming and how I guess they had like the world championships or something like that. And she was so happy and excited that they didn't have to hear Star Spangled Banner being played in the natatorium that time. And she was basically talking shit about how she hates how like the USA swimmers come up, and I guess we have like a cowbell or something, and we're basically like USA, USA, as our swimmers kind of come up to the blocks and whatever. And she just hated it so much. And unfortunately for her, in her qualifying for Paris, she came in 7th and did not make it to this year's Olympics. So the irony running a little deep there.
The USA USA chant in
you just have to watch it
Paris
at home, I guess.
She could just mute the TV if she wanted to, but
right, yeah,
now she didn't have to worry about that.
But
that's disappointing. After that, I was about to say, man, we have a rival now to, but
I guess the rivalry between USA and Australia swimming is pretty good, but I'm pretty sure we've got like 5 times the number of medals that they have in swimming in the Olympics too. So I don't know how much you want to take that rivalry to the bank,
Yeah, I mean, it's something to keep it interesting, but hey, we gave our listeners a lot of names to keep a lookout for, so they can stay educated in the Olympics this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. And next week I will come back with more names for some other events, especially with this gymnastics coming up. Man, I love me some. I talked about it a little bit last week, but I love the Summer Olympics. Olympics in general are great. Winter Olympics. I was literally just saying last week, Winter Olympics, I feel like 80-90% of it is I can slide down this hill faster than you can.
Yeah, there's a lot much diversity in the Summer Olympics.
Yeah. But got plenty of that to talk about between now and when those actually start up on, I believe July 26th is opening ceremonies. So we'll keep an eye on that and keep talking about it and everything. Keep doing our thing with the Rangers. Hopefully they can keep it going, pick it up a little bit on the way, and let's go Team USA in this Copa America, huh?
USA. It works better when Chris and Ross and everybody else is on to chant, but
I know, right? We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in for this week's episode of The Sports Page. As always, I am Dan Boyer, a.k.a. Neon Super Shrimp, joined by Ashton Nix, and we will catch you guys next week with more sports talk. All right. Thanks, guys.